I knew the body innately heals. It can't not.
A pocket of energy within myself.
This is for your mother. So just do this for her.
Let's figure out ways that we can actually use pleasure to come together and bring healing.
It's a modality where we go into your subconscious and change some of those limiting beliefs.
I'm Susan Marco, clinical hypnotist, and I have so many friends and people who have had big impact on my life. So I want to share them all with you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trance Talks, where we have conversations with practitioners across many alternative modalities and disciplines. And today, I think you're going to just love this beautiful lady that I have sitting with me today, Ruth Ratliff. Ruth is a licensed certified vibrational sound therapist and has certifications in vocal sound healing, Shodan Reiki, and spiritual coaching. She's been a professional vocalist, voice coach, and workshop leader for many years. But Ruth, being the teacher, author, speaker that she is, her work centers on the belief that voice and vibration are the instruments of healing, empowerment, and connection. Ruth's holistic approach combines science and spirituality to help her clients access a conscious transformation to lead a healthy, fully expressed life. Oh my goodness. What an amazing thing that you do, Ruth. Why don't you, I'm going to just give you the microphone. And if you wouldn't mind, share a little bit about how you got to where you are now and how you work with people.
Thank you, Susan. I'd be happy to. And thank you for having me on. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you.
Honored to be asked. How I got to this point was, I think a lot of times we gravitate to that which can help us heal ourselves. So with that said, I started out, as everybody else does. We all have our family dynamics, and I grew up in an alcoholic family dynamic. There was a lot of good times too, of course. Don't want to negate that. And my parents did the best they could. I'm very clear on that. But my dad was an active alcoholic, but very high functioning. And so there was, a lot of passive aggressive behavior, a lot of not talking about feelings, being shut down from expressing yourself, my brother and I were not shown, and my parents didn't model healthy communicative behavior, really. And it was fear. We were afraid of my dad because he was loud, he yelled, he was angry when he was, drinking. And, one time I remember sitting at the table. I was a young teenager, and my brother was a little younger than I. And we were sitting in the dark with our coats on, playing cards by candlelight. And that was because apparently one of us had accidentally left the door open in the winter. It was the winter or something, or a window open. And my dad came home, drunk probably, was very upset about losing money in the energy crisis. That was that time of, in our country. And went around yelling and screaming, turned off the power, went around opening up all the doors and the windows. So you want to waste energy? All right, I'll let you waste energy, So my mother had us huddled in the dining room, waiting for Daddy to pass out. Shh, be quiet, So that was something, obviously, that was one issue that really sticks out in my mind about how I was shut down, that we, from a throat chakra standpoint, from a communication standpoint. And my mom modeled a lot of passive aggressive behavior. Again, they did the best they could. My dad, one Christmas Eve, came home drunk again, and I confronted him and I said, "Dad, you're an alcoholic." And he slapped me across the face, of course, because I confronted him. I went out to do Christmas shopping, and when I came home, he was gone. Next morning, state troopers at our door saying our dad had been killed in a car accident. Oh. And that was when I was 17. And then later on, in my later 20s, my mom had cancer. She found out she had cancer. She had a hysterectomy, so on and so forth. And I hope I'm not being too detailed, but she didn't tell us that the doctor told her that she had very, very little time to live. So we were under the impression that she was going to get better, my brother and I. Well, she didn't. She passed away in the hospital. And then 9 months after that, my brother, who had been previously diagnosed with manic depression, committed suicide. So I was obviously, you know, the grief work that I've had to do since then has been pretty tremendous. And moving through a lot of the work that I've needed to do to help me with finding my voice again. And a piece of that was music and learning how to express myself through music with the vibrations of my own voice. I feel like that absolutely helped me expand and leave behind, to process, to transmute a lot of the grief and the trauma in my life. And that's a piece of what I'm bringing to what I help people with is, you know, we all go through things that are horrific in our lifetimes, but it's not going to kill you. You can, you know, it feels like it's going to kill you. I felt like I wanted to die. I felt like I was going to die with some of that pain, but it doesn't, you know, it expands you. The grief, the trauma expanded me in so many ways. And I feel like the music and the sound helped to, as I said, to make it part of who I was.
Mm.
You know, there's my energy body too, because we're this, and then we're something else as well. So I feel like it really helped to make it part of who I was and help me utilize that in working with people.
So was that what I hear you saying is that, or what I'm, I guess, assuming by what you're saying is that having that expression, like the ability to use your voice, something that had been so shut down for you, then to turn that around and use that for as a healing modality for yourself, you know, to find that voice and be able to express those things. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It was very empowering for me, not only to sing in lessons, but then to, you know, take it on the road and sing in front of people, because singing is an extremely exposed art form. And I had to learn that there was so, you know, whenever I'd sing, like one time I remember singing for a memorial service, and I was classically trained, so I was singing like the Ave Maria and stuff like that. But I thought I bombed this, you know, totally bombed, not thinking, you know, I was so young, and I wasn't thinking about enhancing or helping the people grieve. I was thinking about myself, you know.
Mhm.
It's a little self-centered, right? Thinking about, oh, I did so terrible, and I was, you know, sniffling and licking my wounds outside afterwards. And all these people, one by one, were filing past me saying, oh my God, you have such a beautiful voice. You helped me. I cried so much. I wasn't able to cry. And your singing helped me, you know, help deepen, help me process some of the grief. And one after the other was saying something to that effect. And I'm going, wow, was that a lesson? Wow.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting, right? Because even if you weren't aware of it, right? Like that, the vibration, the frequency of you being in your, like using your voice to work through your grief and sharing that with other people who are grieving, the energy is there. It's not like you don't have to think about it. It's just a natural expression. And that invites people, you know, or allows people to feel safe in where they are and what they're feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I found throughout working with people, and, you know, with voice teaching as well, so many people are absolutely terrified of using their voice.
Yeah.
absolutely terrified of singing in front of people and speaking. You know, that's public speaking. That's a lot of people's fear. Mine too. Had to working through that still. um, but yeah, it's amazing. And like one person, like say they'll share. I had this group called "Do You Love to Sing," and we would make a circle in the end, and we talk about our experiences, like what shut you down. And it was amazing what people would say, what they carry with them their whole lives and make their truth. Like an elementary school singer tell somebody to lip sync once. You know, they'd say unkind. A lot of times it was unthinking. You know, not necessarily deliberately unkind, but unthinking. And these people would make that their truth and allow that to shut them down. And it wasn't just from singing. It was that constriction of that affects you in every facet of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And conversely, when you free it, it also affects every facet of your life as well.
So how did you make the shift from singing and, you know, being a vocalist into, you know, using that as a modality for healing? How did that happen for you?
It was probably about 10, 12, 13 years ago or so. I had it was actually, well, I'll tell you one word, menopause.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
Let's go there.
You know, yeah, it's definitely a spiritual shift. I mean, I felt it was for me. You know, it was kind of like I had to reinvent myself. I was, you know, 20 years of voice teaching. It's kind of like, okay, you know, dealing with show moms and so forth. It was I was kind of done with it. And just loved it though. But, you know, so I wanted to empower women. And I still felt you know, through that, I think subconsciously I was trying to empower still myself, right, to do further work in the world. And I started a website, Move Through Time. I did a little book called The Voice of Woman's Wisdom. It was supposed to be a giveaway. I since published it, self-published it. But that whole thing with working through that book was really cathartic for me, bringing up so many different things. It was amazing how that people will say that. I'm sure authors will, anybody even journalists will say how cathartic that is. So that started me basically on the whole voice thing, the voice for healing. And then my husband bought me a throat chakra ball, and that was the beginning of the end with the balls. Then I got certified. I saw a course to become certified, which is, you know, 6 days, you're immersed in it, but that's far from, you know, really becoming a master or an expert at it. But it's, you know, I've been doing it now for 6 years. So, and I think my musical background helped a lot with that. But yes, I believe that's what it was. And then my voice changed dramatically through menopause. Your voice is very, very sensitive to the fluctuations of estrogen or the absence of it. And it just became unpleasant for me to sing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't sing for like 5 years. And then not too long ago, I started to use my voice in a much different way with intuitive singing and just allowing whatever wanted to come out, come out. And I do this in my sessions, both my in-person and my group sessions. And it's amazing what people will say when they hear that.
Yeah. So what does it look like when you work with someone one-to-one or in a group? So I just want to say, you know, Ruth and I live pretty far apart from each other. We're in the same state, but kind of on other ends in a way. So I haven't had the pleasure of experiencing a session with you. I have seen you play and felt your energy play at where did we connect it at an expo last year. And, you know, I just want to say the quality of your sound and your playing and what I've seen online with you is exceptional. So, you know, that being said, how do you work with people? What does it look like?
Thank you. Well, you can always book a virtual session. That's one thing I do.
Okay.
I'd love to work with you. And when I do group events. I do group events here in my, I have a third floor studio that I work with. I have zero gravity chairs. I can take 7 people. I do that about twice a month. I also go around to different places. I have monthly sound baths, they're called, because you're bathed in sound. I also work at a rehab as well, doing a sound bath and doing one-on-one work. When I work one-on-one, a person will come to my facility, my studio, and they lie on a massage table fully clothed. And I put a blanket on them, and then I put bowls, place bowls on or around their body. I'm sure you've seen pictures of that. And then I strike them rhythmically. The bowls are designed, therapeutically designed to vibrate down into the tissues of the body, and they induce an extremely relaxed state. They get you into the alpha or the theta brainwave state. You're literally in an altered state.
Mm.
And then you know, a lot of good stuff happens obviously when you're in that relaxed state, and you get out of that fight, flight, or freeze state. It's very indicated for people with chronic anxiety, stress, and PTSD. And pain management, it can help because it increases blood flow. My husband swears by it for his knees.
I love that. So do you also, I guess what in my mind, I imagine, are you working with toning or chanting or, expression on that level when you work with someone?
Yes, I can. I have a couple of different offerings. One of them is called Primal Voice, and that is a one-on-one virtual. And that works with organic sounding. Basically, it works with, people, we're all living from, I feel like a lot of us are living from the neck up in our society because of stressors, from environmental and sociological stressors. So basically, I get people into their bodies by touching their bodies, and then listening, having a conscious listening, teaching them how to consciously listen to the outside and then the inner through the body with somatic movement, combining that with primal sound, primal or organic sound. Like asking the body, what do you want to say to me today? Asking your heart, what would you like to tell me today? Would you like to express it through my voice, through our voice? It's very meditative. People have said they just like recovered from all sorts of, it's crazy what one session will do, but I know it's not like it's a miracle cure for anything at all. It's just, I think what it is, it's a different level of awareness. It cultivates or opens people's eyes to a much deeper level of awareness, and with their bodies and their voices and their soul, their spirit, what resides within.
I love
So I
that.
have that, and then I have a larger program called Crystalline Voice, which is a 2-month program. That's more of that. I also have a course on Udemy called Healing with Your Sacred Voice, and that's basically a culmination of a lot of the stuff that I have just been speaking about as well.
So beautiful. And I just want to tell you, and I'm going to make a little jump here. I think everyone listening right now just got a little more relaxed than they were before. Just hearing you speak, felt so calm and lovely.
Oh gosh, that's so amazing. My husband and other people have told me that so many times. You don't realize, we don't realize how we affect each other, right?
Yeah.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who would you say, who's most drawn to work with you? Like who, for what things would people reach out to you, or what is your experience of who do you work with mostly?
Right. I'd say people who suffer from chronic stress and anxiety, specifically. I've worked with people who are doing grief work. It's very, very helpful for that. Again, I told you I was at the rehab. People who are in recovery too can be very helpful for that. Although, it depends what part of your recovery, and you have to be a little more at the
Yeah. So just to clarify, when you say rehab, you're talking about drug and alcohol.
Alcohol and drugs, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you have to be at a certain point, I think, to, for it to be not only effective but safe. You don't want to have people go over the deep end because I just had a woman last night, working with a gal last night, and she was in my group session, and she had a very profound emotional response. I think it was positive, but I think it was a little overwhelming for her, you
Mhm.
know. So yeah, so I'm very judicious with the way I play the bowls, and I realize that it is a therapy. It's not just it's not entertainment.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a piece of it that I think some people aren't, aren't clear on. But yes, people with that, certainly, people who have felt, a lot of women, women certainly who are, a lot of women who are, have felt that they've been shut down most of their lives,
Hmm.
are coming to me for help with the voice as well. And singers, absolutely, because it's absolutely indicated for singers, because myself, I know it's now my singing voice, I am singing now more free because I don't have myself in a box. The vocal pedagogy, especially classical pedagogy, is very, very precise, about what you're supposed to do with your voice. And
Ah, yes.
it can be freeing in one way, but it's very restrictive as well.
I love that. So I like to ask this question. Um, what would you say is the key to success for your clients?
An open mind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What else do you want to share?
Well, the quote, Edgar Casey predicted this in the, way back in the 40s, that sound and music will be the medicine of the future.
Yeah.
And I think Einstein also said that, and I absolutely believe we are seeing that now, and I feel
Yeah.
very blessed to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, we're very blessed to have you be part of it as well, Ruth. And I know, your level of integrity, obviously, in how you work with people. You're a safe person to be with. So if people want to reach out to you or they want to find you, I know you mentioned some of your programs, but what's the best way for people to reach out?
My website would work beautifully, and they can either book a session with me directly, or they can book a little discovery call to, if they're confused or have any questions about which of my offerings would help them. And that's, my website is ruthratliff.com, my name.
Yeah. And do you have any special things coming up that you want to share?
Well, if anybody's in the area, a lot of my stuff that I do right now is area driven, so I do have, I'm going to be speaking. I actually do, I do presentations as well. I have a presentation called The Healing Magic of Sound, Voice, and Vibration. And I love to explain the science behind things so people can find it more relatable and understandable. And that's coming up this Sunday. I'm doing a couple more of those in the following couple months from now. And if anybody is too far away, you can always book me virtually as well.
Beautiful.
See what all the buzz is about.
Well, thank you so much, Ruth, for taking the time to come and chat with me today, and for sharing your wisdom and your vulnerability with everyone. Really appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. I'm very honored to be here.
Yeah. All right. Take care. See you all later.
Thank you.